Welcome back, movie fans, as we go back to 1989 to arguably one of the most iconic and classic Christmas movies known to cinema fans. Now sit back as I give some of the top trivia facts from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to help support the channel. After failing to get the Christmas lights to work one last time, Clark takes his frustration out on the plastic decorations in the front yard. Chevy Chase actually broke his pinky finger when punching the Santa Claus. He resorts to kicking and clubbing the decorations after that. The film kept rolling, and they ended up using the footage. It was rumored that Clark's rant about his boss, Mr. Shirley, was ad-libbed. This is somewhat true. However, what the audience doesn't see is that each of the cast members of the film facing Chevy had a sign hanging around their necks that had one word written on them. These were some of the adjectives Clark used to describe his boss. This was the final film of Mae Questel, who played Aunt Bethany and whose film career began in 1930 as the voice of Betty Boop. The old Dodge pickup that tailgated Clark and the family in the opening scenes of the movie was previously used as Kurt Russell's work truck in Overboard 1987 and They Live 1988. Near the end of the film, Rusty says, "I told you we should have gone to Hawaii." In the first National Lampoon's Vacation 1983, when asked where in the world he would want to go the most, Rusty said, "Hawaii." The shoes that Cousin Eddie wears are the same ones that he gave Clark as a gift in the original Vacation. When Clark is in bed trying to read People magazine with sticky fingers from the tree sap, the person shown on the cover of the magazine is director Jeremiah S. Chechik. After Clark Griswold unsuccessfully attempts to demonstrate his handiwork with the house Christmas lights to his family, he asks Rusty to help him check all the light bulbs again. Rusty looks at his bare wrist pretending to have a watch and excuses himself. Looking at a bare wrist and pretending to have a watch is one of Chevy Chase's trademark gags. A minor earthquake occurred when they were filming the scene where Uncle Lewis and Aunt Bethany arrive at the Griswold house. Chevy Chase appeared in some scenes wearing a navy blue Chicago Bears ball cap. He wore the same Chicago Bears cap throughout the first two Vacation movies. According to Randy Quaid, many of Cousin Eddie's characteristics, most notably the clicking of the tongue, were based off of a guy that Quaid knew when he was growing up in Texas years ago, who had similar traits. When Clark and Ellen discuss their concerns over Eddie and Catherine not having any Christmas presents for their kids, Ellen says that Eddie has been out of work for close to 7 years. In National Lampoon's Vacation 83, Eddie mentions having been laid off from an asbestos factory, which would have been nearly 7 years before this movie takes place. Despite acting as the husband and wife duo of Aunt Bethany and Uncle Lewis, Mae Questel was 19 years older than her co-star William Hickey. She was 81 years old, and he was 62 at the time of filming. The term Griswold House soon became a part of the American and Australian vernacular to describe a house that is often decorated in a gaudy fashion to observe Christmas. This is the only Vacation movie to not feature the Lindsey Buckingham song Holiday Road. Brian Doyle Murray appeared in 2 of the Vacation movies. In this one, he played Frank Shirley, Clark's boss. In the first one, he played the Camp Comfort Clark, where the Griswolds stopped to stay on their way to Wally World. Producer John Hughes originally brought on Chris Columbus to direct, but even before cameras could roll, Columbus came to the realization that he could not work with the difficult Chevy Chase after meeting him. So even though he desperately needed the job at that point in his career, Columbus decided to quit the project. He was worried it would end his career, but then Hughes brought him back to direct Home Alone of 1990, which became a massive hit a year later, earning over 6 times the amount of money Christmas Vacation did with a budget of almost $10 million less. Ellen Latson, who plays the character of Ruby Sue, was measured and fitted for a wig, as the producers felt that Latson's short pixie haircut was inappropriate for her character. When shopping with Clark, Eddie asked Clark if it was his company that killed all those people over in India. He is referencing the Bhopal disaster, which is also known as the Union Carbide disaster, in which leaks from a Union Carbide pesticide plant escaped into the air and exposed to over 500,000 civilians. Thousands of people died and many were sickened. This is the only Vacation film in which the family doesn't travel anywhere, except in the opening scene where the Griswolds are going out into the woods to find a Christmas tree. Just before Clark got locked up in the attic, he pulled out an old present from a hidden slot, and it contained a card that read, "Happy Mother's Day 1983, Love Clark." National Lampoon's Vacation 1983 was released that year. Clark tells Audrey at the start of the film that he already has a Santa tie at home. He can be seen wearing it during the Christmas Eve dinner scenes at the end of the film. A deleted post-credits scene would have had the blow mold Santa sleigh that is blasted into the sky by the sewer explosion crashing into Todd and Margot's bedroom roof after Todd makes a Santa joke before falling asleep. Lindsey Buckingham was offered the opportunity to write the theme for this movie, but declined because he didn't want to be known as only a soundtrack musician. The house in which the Griswolds' neighbors, Todd and Margot, live is the same house where the Murtaugh family lived in all 4 Lethal Weapons movies, 1987 through 98. The houses on the street are on the Warner Brothers backlot. Although Christmas Vacation takes place in the Chicago area, the movie was shot in Burbank, California at the Warner Brothers Studios lot. However, for a number of the outdoor scenes, they filmed on location in Breckenridge, Colorado, because at the time of the year they traditionally had the biggest snowfall. But when they arrived, they freaked out when they discovered there was no snow, so they had a convoy of trucks haul in snow for certain locations. As soon as they arrived, it started snowing and dropped 10 feet in 3 days. It became near impossible to actually shoot because there was so much snow. They had to take snowcats just to get to their filming locations. This was Chevy Chase's last hit film to not flop at the box office until the release of Man of the House 1995, 6 years later. Beverly D'Angelo improvised grabbing Chevy Chase's crotch when the SWAT team holds up the house. She later said she did it only in one take on the off chance it could make it into the film's final cut, which it did. The scene where the cat bit the Christmas lights cord and got electrocuted was nearly cut from the film. Prior to the first test screening, the studio executives wanted the scene taken out, fearing that it might offend some viewers, but the producer Matty Simmons begged them to leave the scene in, and they eventually gave in to his request. After the first test screening, the test audience scored the cat electrocution scene as the #1 favorite scene throughout the entire movie. Well, that about wraps it up for another movie classic. Make sure to tell me what your favorite scene is in the comments below, and I'll catch you next time, where a group of men in Antarctica must face an unknown threat before it takes them all over.